Hey, says I'm live right here. How you doing, everyone? I hope you're doing well. Sam's going to be with me in a couple of minutes. We just did his show, Weirdos at Home, with his girlfriend, Tara Brown. And here I am doing late night. This is our first late night show, and I brought a couple of other guests with me. I brought Mr. Bacardi here, and so I'm going to have a little bit of Bacardi. Maybe a little bit more Bacardi. Maybe a little bit more Bacardi, to tell you the truth. And then our next guest star is Coke Zero. You know, you would think that Coke Zero, I wouldn't be a big fan of Coke Zero, but I had an ex-girlfriend who got me into Coke Zero quite a bit. And so it saves me the calories, but gives me that wondrous caffeine. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for fun and entertainment, and that's what the pairing of the Bacardi and the Coke. That's what it is. I hope everyone's doing well tonight. I think I see Sam, and Sam's giving me the hey, Sam Slade. How are you?
Hey, buddy. What's going on? Hey, just want to thank you again for coming on Weirdos at Home tonight, man. That was so much fun.
Dude, how fun was that, right? I'm starting to like I think I'm formulating this idea somewhere in the recesses of my brain, in my gray matter, that perhaps this late night thing isn't going to suck.
No, I think this is the way to go. I think we've always been the type to be more of a late night style, but I think the way you prove to get to a late night show is you got to be ready to go on Friday morning. If I learned anything on being on shitty shock jock radio, that beat Howard Stern once I showed up, is the fact that you got to pay your dues to be ready to go on Friday morning when you're hungover than you do to earn that late night spot. But I think Andy and Sam late night following Weirdos at Home is it's a fucking genius idea, and I hope Michael Eisner is rolling over in his grave. I'm sorry, what's that? He's alive? Yeah. He's alive.
Tara Brown, how are you doing? It's like we just saw each other a few minutes ago.
I know. How have you been? Bacardi is your friend now.
This is a whole different
Bacardi's entered the picture.
Yes, it is. Yes, I've decided that my girlfriend talked me out of drinking through the entire 2-hour segment. And she's like, there's no way you're going to be coherent. Even like even vaguely coherent by the end of 2 hours if you're drinking rum for that time period. And so I decided to wait until we got here on YouTube, the proper format, the proper forum for me to do some light drinking.
Absolutely.
Hey,
some social drinking.
Tonight's show was a great show, and I saw everybody drinking on that show.
Look at you doing post game over here. For those of you, there are people who are watching this now who don't watch Weirdos at Home. This is Tara Brown. Andy, when will it be normal?
When will it be normal? Well, my friend, I'm glad you asked. There was some information I wanted to impart with that I didn't earlier, but we'll get to that after talking about what does normal look like right now. I mean, even so, normal, let me just say this. Normal would be we have a vaccine, right? A working vaccine, and Trump is out of office. Are those the two basic criteria of what normal really entails?
I think that's a good start.
It's a hell of a start. I was hoping that maybe
you're dreaming. I admire the hope.
We're out there.
Well, hey, Michelle started a podcast. I bet that will save the world, right?
Sure. I just want to say hello to Anjar out in the on the chat right now. And of course,
hey, I'm so sorry. I'm being rude. Hang on, real quick. I'm sorry. This is the face of a professional. And Jer, how long you already been drinking? I
just started.
You started? In 1998, I was 14. And I have to say that's where it started.
Jesus was it Spatula is asking, have you been outside lately? And actually, I was outside. I took a walk through Cambridge, Massachusetts, with my girlfriend early Sunday morning, thinking that there would not be a lot of people around, and there wasn't. So we had a very nice walk through Harvard Square. Saw a couple of turkeys.
I was just about to say, I saw on your social media turkeys in the square.
Turkeys in Harvard Square. That is correct. They are shameless. They are brave, and they do not give a fuck. Those turkeys in Harvard Square.
Andy, fucking turkeys in the square? What, bro?
So Tara, I was burying the lead. So my girlfriend and I, we've been researching about fleeing to Canada in case elections are not held in the fall. And it turns out that people who work with people in human services like we do, people who work with people who have disabilities, we actually have a special status. Canada actually want people in our line of work.
Well, Sam, it's been real. If the travel ban's ever lifted, please come visit me. And
I'm going to tell you something else.
Hang on, are you giving the Captain Kirk speech to Spock through the glass right now? Oh.
They're just going to put a glass wall around America. We're not allowed to leave.
By the way, Andy, you got to know, based on her heritage, she has a place to go if shit pops off.
Now, all right, I don't want to get too dark here this early, but is this place you're talking about within the continental United States?
It is. It's sovereign land, though.
Sovereign land? I would be very skeptical of that coming from the United States of America.
It would, at the least, it would buy us enough time, and the landscape is so flat you can see people coming from hundreds of miles away. So I always call it the bunker. We're gonna have a bunker situation going on.
Well, you got a firewall, right? It's like a firewall to get yourself out, to protect you for a while to get out of the country. I don't have anything like that. I don't have anything.
Or I'll say what I've said every election cycle that I've been alive, going back to Andy, when I won the 1992 first grade class election as the Clinton campaign spokesperson.
Very impressive.
We could run away right now in a very highly Republican, rich Westlake district. I'll say this. We could run, we could flee, or we could stay here and do what y'all tried, but we were super dicks about it. But then we tried to own it and fight it off and keep our country safe. Which is a very awkward rant to go on in front of my Native American partner. I'm going to be honest.
Blazing Wizard.
I'd like to see you try.
Hey guys, if we could not.
It's like you guys are being real dicks right now, and that's not chill. I don't know about you.
Andy, I'm at a loss. I'll talk about this because it's this show and not Weirdos at Home. Tara's a guest and not. We don't have to worry. A lot of viewers dropped off.
She's not in charge of us anymore.
Tara's family at this point. She's family. She's been on the show before. She knows how this rolls.
She's a friend of ours, Andrew.
Yes.
Man, this is Tara's birthday week. We're kicking off.
Woo!
This week.
This week, next Sunday is her birthday. But here's the problem. I'm gonna talk about it on this show because I know her mom doesn't watch the show because her name's not on the title. She wants us to go see her in Dallas. Now her mom is a very high risk COVID
75,
situation.
75 years old.
But she's been doing the homework and staying home and keeping herself occupied and doing what you got to do, right, Andy? So the thing is, she's like, "Hey, it's your birthday. Come on up." And that's, I think, Andy, what that conversation to me is the foil ball that Pee Wee Herman had in the Playhouse of this problem, where it's that is what we're trying to peel off and figure out what we're doing.
I'll tell you a story. A friend of mine, Dale McGowan, he had to help his elderly mother. She had broken a hip, I believe. And he wasn't aware that he had COVID at the time. He just had a cough. So he just wore a mask. And he did a lot of custodial work to help her out.
But he wore a mask.
He wore a mask at all times. And it turned out later that he tested positive for COVID, but she never got it. And that's the power of masks, my friend, of having a mask and being careful. Is there always a chance of giving someone COVID? Sure. Whether, is there a chance that you have it right now and you don't know it because you're asymptomatic? Sure. But if you wear a mask and careful,
and Andy, we're in Texas, so always bet on COVID.
Dude, I saw a picture of your pool at your apartment building.
Yes,
right?
I sent it to you. Yeah,
that's crazy. How many is it like that all the time? People just like
I know, Andy.
out?
I know when I've been telling you about this on this here show when we do it in the morning, and I'm grumpy. The fact is not that I'm not always grumpy. That's my secret, Andy. I'm always grumpy. But I know you thought it was like, hyperbole and me like, oh, Sam's telling a tall tale. Dude, Tara, come on.
The picture actually was less people than ended up showing up. There were more people that came after he took that photo. And a lot of children, which we don't usually have a lot of kids in that pool, but there were more than I've ever seen. None of them were wearing masks. They were swimming back and forth across all over, splashing each other. I think out of the 20 to 30 people that were out there, I saw maybe 2 or 3 masks.
And how many people that we know live here, which means it's people starving, Andy, to have summer here. We're backed up against the wall in the most stressful school year. You got to understand, I, to some extent, can justify their urgency because they're feeling like summer's about to be over. We haven't been able to swim. We're stuck at home, break into where.
Yeah, they've had to replace the pool gate, I think, twice so far this summer because people are just literally breaking it down to get in to swim, and it's just insane.
Andy, we're not like those learned people in your neighborhood.
It just, a friend of mine, I was talking to him about it the other day, and he says that we as a species, we can exercise reason, but we are not reasonable animals. And this entire crisis, your entire pool scene, I mean, just going there under normal circumstances, I would hate going into a pool where there's kids anyway, just because of the urine content, right? But now I would go.
You swim in a thong, so I understand.
But COVID and urine at the same time? No, thank you. I don't think I could do that.
I know.
It's like mega COVID.
The first few weeks of this thing, I thought maybe the urine would kill the COVID, and I was doing everybody a favor.
I want to give some people a shout out in the chat. We got Chris Mallard and Gary Priestley in. Hello, guys.
Hi.
Andy, you were talking about what does normal look like. We've come to the realization that we're not going to be able to go back to a movie theater unless we rent one out. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But I think to some extent when I talk to you, I get very jealous to the fact that you're in a part of the country that you can, to some extent, do some of our normal things like a birthday pub crawl and have it be socially distanced, or rent out a movie theater this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know about that? Here we go. We're about to get this guy's about to make a raid on his buddies.
Ooh.
But
So,
what I'm saying is I think I'm jealous because everything is shut down, but people are just overreaching, and then we get back in trouble, and then we get shut down again. But I'm sorry.
Well, I knew that this is like a small window of time that I can go out and do some stuff that I like. My girlfriend and I have been talking about it. The students, because there are still going to be some students coming back into the Boston area, and that's going to be only in about 2 weeks or so.
Yeah.
So we have about a 2-week window of doing things before coronavirus basically explodes again in the Boston area.
Yeah.
So we decided there is the Brattle movie theater is in Cambridge, right in Harvard Square. And for a relatively low fee, we can rent out the whole theater. And we're going to show a couple of Buster Keaton movies and have some friends come over.
Oh, wow. That's so
awesome,
cool.
Man. That's so fucking cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. I would have loved to have done something like that.
It's so cool.
I saw Alamo Draft House is doing something like that. But it's going to, down here, it would be the price would not be reasonable through Alamo Draft House. They're very expensive, but that's
Well,
cool.
the good thing about the Rattle Theater is that's a nonprofit theater, and so
there you go. Yeah.
So it helps. That's the only reason why they've been able to survive this, over the last couple of years. And the pub crawl that I did too. It was when the students weren't here. Most of the people, a lot of the people who live in the city, they're off to the Cape anyway or up the mountains. And so summers are pretty cool around here. Not a lot of folks.
Andy, sometimes I just laugh doing this show in my head with you because of the mixed audience we get between rednecks that watch it, that I know, trapped in Texas, more educated folks up there in your part of the world, and you're going, yeah, sometimes people go up to the Cape or the mountains. I don't know. And my folks are going, they told me to wear a mask at Walmart. I'll fucking fight them. I'll fight them.
Dude. I was watching CNN today with my girlfriend, and they were interviewing, and I forget which, I think he might have been down in Florida. And there was a guy who runs a gun store, and he's just talking, and he's going, anyone who walks in my store, they have to take the face mask off. I will not serve anyone.
It's security purpose?
Just because of the fact that he will not have anyone muzzled in his store.
Oh, it's just like, oh, hey, I know you might be wearing that mask, but here, you better take it off. Show your fucking support for America.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Man, I don't, Andy, we haven't talked about this enough on this show. The fact that the Pentagon acknowledged there were aliens last week in the Middle East. And then Andy, I haven't talked to you since then. But Sunday on Meet the Press, they had somebody on from the CDC who they're like, oh, so you think you're people say you're Fauci's boss. Well, no, I'm not Fauci's boss, but we work together. I'm just saying the level of his command is pretty high up there.
He wanted to be very in the shadows.
So he's talking
he's
talking about the situation, and then he goes, "Hey, what would aliens say if they showed up here right now?" And after the last couple of weeks of news, you were the first person I thought of that I was like, I can't tell that to him because he'll pull some Jeff Goldblum move and try to go meet him.
I always like thinking about aliens, right? Aliens in general, but if why aren't they here? Why haven't we seen any? It's a big universe, sure, but once you've developed light, greater than light speed, they should be able to, travel around pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if aliens were watching us right now, I would say I would just sit back and eat popcorn and just watch the show because it's a crazy show.
It's like watching the most horrible reality show. You're like, I would never want to be there, but this is captivating from afar because we're like the bad neighborhood of the galaxy. I feel they roll by and they're like, we don't stop here. We can get gas at the next planet.
Right. Exactly. And you'd have to think about life forms on this planet in case they were the dominant intelligent species, right? Like communal animals. Mm-hmm. Even just like bonobos, right? Bonobos are monkeys that are very, very happy, sexually oriented creatures, closely related to us. But if they were super intelligent and sharing the planet with us, they wouldn't want anything to do with us.
Mm-mm.
They would just want to leave us alone.
I think it was one of the things funny about aliens was a theory that we heard, Andy, over the weekend, even since I've talked to you on Friday, was some MIT professor saying there's an old theory of the graduate school theory. And you're like, that sounds silly. And it's if aliens were coming down here to study people, it would only be the fuck around graduate students who would be abducting people or like doing crazy shit because they knew, senioritis. They knew they had it in the bag. So they're the ones, causing the trouble and having fun. But that was a legitimate, like an MIT Princeton professor talking about that. I don't know.
Yeah, they wouldn't be sending their A team out here. I'll tell you that.
It's the bum assignment that you get when you're like worst in your class.
Exactly. Well, let's face it. The A team on our planet of our species don't want to be here with the rest of us.
Seriously, I bet they heard aliens and they're like, "Where do we need to be? Where would you like us to stand?"
Yeah.
Swing by. We'll hop on.
We'll just go.
Yes.
I think it's really nice to have this late night chat. Mm-hmm. on what is now going to be known as Friday Mornings with Andy and Sam : hashtag late night with Andy and Sam : the dawn of the new show.
Okay, that's a mouthful. The acronym is outrageous.
that is a mouthful. I think I'm going to have Sam do the monologue the first 5 or 10 minutes every show.
The true fans will figure out the monologue, and they will, before long they'll be like, release the deleted scenes.
I really want to see that moment when Andy and Sam met, and Andy hit him on the back with a folding chair. That would be the best.
Yes.
Best shot.
That's classic Sam. It sounds like. How has anyone ever met Sam any other way? I don't think.
It would be a missed opportunity any other way.
I'm going to be honest. Somebody said, how's Sam's colon?
It was a colon in between the phrases that you wrote.
Hang on. You said, how's Sam's colon, Andy?
Well, I don't know about Sam's colon personally. I can only vouch for my own colon.
Wait, did you say that you were trying to meet me at Halloween Havoc in October? Did you say that you wanted us to do this show live from the Providence Convention Center, and then once we get canceled because of COVID, the Nassau, New Hampshire Convention Center picks it up?
I think that would be a great idea. I'm willing to travel all around the area just to do our live show in the middle of COVID-19. And it would. Yeah.
It would. Please, by all means.
Yeah, we could have a whole little train of dysfunction, I think. We could have a whole other bunch of podcasters or YouTubers, and we'd headline, of course.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Special guest appearance from Randy, Macho Man. Or Macho Man Randy's.
No, not Randy. Yeah.
No, that's a heart.
This is talking about a heart. It's Sam Slade coming in to promote Andy's blogs. Yeah.
So Sam, tell me how many hearts were there in wrestling?
I'm not a big fan of the heart. I always think of two. There's the one that we all respect. So my partner is pushing me away from her under the table to make sure I don't touch her.
He's taking up a lot of space over here, body space.
There were a couple hearts. There was Owen, and he died falling from the roof. But that's not what I was going. I was just trying to let Gary know my colon's doing fine, Andy. Someone said, who would be our openers on the road, Andy, you and I? Who would we pick? Okay, let's do it. If we're going to do our comedy act on the road, and let's go all time.
All time.
Music or, okay, so we're headliners. That means we get an MC, an opener, and then us. And you have to pick now.
Well, if I had an opener, geez, yeah, and you know this, Sam.
He's like, you're my opener. You've been my opener for years.
Yeah. And let the people in the chat know something about the comedy business. Sometimes there are headliners who bring crappy people with them on tour to make them look good.
Smooth.
And so I wouldn't want to bring anyone crappy.
That's why I opened for Judith Freelander.
So who would not make me look bad?
No. I'm saying it's you and I. We're headlining together.
Right.
We have a middle act and we have an MC. I'm not worried about who will make us look bad or good. I'm saying let's our dreams set up to us headlining.
You know, I'll tell you this: in case we have an unruly crowd, I would always want Bill Burr to be in my corner.
My
Good
goodness,
choice.
my
Very good
God.
choice.
You know, anyone
I think he might just end up being head of production, Andy. Dude, did you fucking say, hey, did you fucking say that? What'd you say about Andy's fucking set? Come here, dude. I gotta fucking. I'm sorry. My Boston sounds more like Bobby Kelly than anyone.
But I would pick Bill Burr. He's one of the best comedians out there. And I don't know if you've heard any of his podcasts, but that man can just talk and talk and talk.
I like his podcast a lot.
His podcast, his Goodfellas breakdown is legendary. I think we do enough time promoting other people's podcasts. Andy, believe it or not, if we had archives and a great editor, the amount of time we have promoted Bill Burr's podcast in you and I's work,
yeah,
my God, he should hire us.
Well, and I'll say this: I've seen Mark Maron quite a bit over the last couple of years too, and the man is magical. The man is magical live, and I would that would be fantastic for me. And of course, you have the classics, right? You have Carlin. And I'll also say this, even though Mr. Louis C.K. is verboten, right, because of his weird sexual hang-ups and his past, very talented man, incredibly talented. If there was anyone who would want to, I would want to help me punch up my material, it would be Louis C.K.
He's a brilliant writer. I mean,
yeah.
Stand up aside. It's just, those are good choices, though.
I don't know. I would, time permitting right now, if it was me and Andy headlining, it would be obviously we headline. Our middle, I'm going to work from top to bottom for what you pay your money for, all the way to why you consider leaving at the beginning. So me and Andy headline, we'll figure out all that later. Middle act is obviously going to be really fine on the nose relevant K-pop band. Get everybody just real fucking hyped.
They can do a really good job at that.
Just to get everybody, we'd tell them it's a song about us. Who the fuck knows?
No one knows. No one knows.
But does it get people on their feet? Fuck yeah, it does. Fuck yeah, it does. And then we do our MC, our opener. I'm gonna go ahead and say it's gonna be if we can find him, David Blaine.
David Blaine.
Because if there's anything people know about Andy and I is that we're magic together.
That's true.
We're magic together. So that would be my envisioned lineup. Along with Tara, maybe like driving through the outline of the stadium on the dirt track, like rodeo style with her hand out a window, like she's Trisha Yearwood.
I'll be running the merch table, I'm sure.
Well, you know what? I don't think you can handle the merch table because that lineup where me and Andy then fucking headline, you will drown at that merch table.
Yeah.
The amount of merch that will be sold if it's that lineup, selling out Fenway Park, selling out Wrigley Field, selling out Minute Maid. And you think you can handle the merch table?
You're talking to someone that worked at Toys R Us at Christmas time and Target on Black Friday. I think I can handle that merch table.
How did you survive those things? Were you just ducking covering or
pending case is still open. I can't discuss the details.
Very good. Very good. I imagine, I don't know, were you cashiering? Because, I mean, it's one thing to be cashiering and another thing to be, I guess, in the aisles trying to navigate.
A little bit of both. During those times in like big retail stores like that, you are just thrown to the wolves. So they teach you the cash register because they want everyone to be able to know that. But other than that, they'll call you and say, I need you to go restock, some certain section. And then they just throw you out there. And that's when everyone starts creeping through the aisles, like attacking, especially at the Toys R Us was way worse. I don't wish that on my enemies.
Andy, I think it goes like this, where it goes, look, there's 3 days till Christmas. I don't know if you know this, But the guy working action figures right now doesn't have a fucking clue what he's doing. Okay? So tell what I'm asking you to do. No, get away. I can't look at that right now. Get out of here. No, go. Tell the assistant fucking manager. I need you to go back there to Boys Toys. Get us back online. Christmas depends on you. Go push the Spider-Man. Go.
I imagine it very like Laura Dern style in Jurassic Park when she has to go solo out into that jungle.
Yeah.
Andy, did you ever work retail like in high school and shit?
I did. When I was in high school, I worked at a pharmacy and I worked the cash register. And they
but that's like a wholesome John Hughes shit.
It was, in a lot of ways. It was terrifying at moments because we had a very high ceiling at the pharmacy that I worked at, and they wanted us to jump up or to get up on the really rickety ladder to change the fluorescent light bulbs.
Oh shit!
And that, my life could have been snuffed out.
So where was this?
This is in Brockton. Now, for those of you who don't know what Brockton is, Brockton, the city of champions, not really, home of Rocky Marciano, heavyweight champion. Undefeated, I believe.
Hey, Andy, I don't know if you know that, but I'm going to get laid tonight because you said Rocky Marciano in front of Tyra.
Really?
Oh.
Pretty awesome. Yeah, keep me on your Christmas card list then, Sam. But yeah, so I was working in Brockton. I grew up in, I grew up in Brockton. I was working in Brockton at the time, and yeah, we had all kinds of crazy characters come through that store. Almost killed myself with a cutter. See, I didn't say cutter, but with a cutter. I was opening. I was trying to open up a box, and I don't know if I still have the wound, but I sliced the little razor blade, the corner of the razor blade.
I never see your arms. You held up an arm like
it's white.
My God!
Like I told you, I'm like super white. I'm not just white.
No,
like white trash.
No, I was talking about you're ripped. I'm like, yeah, maybe we don't meet in person. But no, are you talking about the sandwich slicer, right? Like the old school deli.
It wasn't that. It was how you open up like cardboard boxes,
Oh, okay. Or the way you hijack a plane on September 11, 2001.
I have to tell you something. I've been held up at gunpoint. And I used to do this when I was doing stand-up. I used to tell a story. And at the time, I asked to see the gun because he wouldn't show me the gun. And to tell you right? And the thing is, and one of the reasons that I would feel like a little bitch, to tell you the truth, if the cops came and asked me if he had a gun, I go, I don't know. You didn't. What's that?
He told me he did.
Yeah. I would have to see the gun. So, if someone was trying, and I don't want to sound, overly hard or anything like that, but if someone has a box cutter and they're saying they're going to take the plane over, that would be a hard lift for me, because then I'd have to tell people afterwards. It's like, well, yeah, I was sitting right by the guy and he had a box cutter, and so I couldn't do anything about it.
Anyways, we got way off course. I apologize. You're working at a nice old school pharmacy, and you're opening boxes, and it's
always September 11th with you, isn't it?
My God,
it is always Central. Well, I mean, life completely changed after September 11th. I mean, that's when everything.
But I have to say, in Terry's defense, when Andy found me on Twitter, when Roll Santos, I don't know what incarnation to drop his podcast, but when he recommended me to the Naked Diner, I get a message from Andy, and he was like, "Hey, what kind of stuff do you do?" And I go, "Hey, man, have you ever thought about building 7?" And he was like, and I was like, yeah, but what about Larry Silverstein talking about pull the building?
You were deep in it, lost.
I don't know, man. Hey, have you ever thought about how jet fuel doesn't burn at the temperature, man?
and that's what I like working about Sam, and I love working with Sam is this right here, whatever that is, and I don't even know what that is really. If I was going to tell someone about what it's like working with Sam, I couldn't even tell them, but I just know that I like it. I like it when I'm sober. I definitely like it when I'm drinking.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and break it down right now. The fact is of the matter, it's declassified. They have, in fact, dropped the towers by design. George Soros was involved, H.W. Bush, and Osama bin Laden's father. It's known. It's all known.
Google it.
Google it, right. Do your research.
Go ahead, Google it. We always...
We tell each other that around the apartment.
Go ahead, Google it.
You just better go ahead and Google
it. I love that as we start doing, we're doing a back-to-back episode. It's 2 podcasts, and we start doing you're doing Alex Jones impressions. As you start doing Alex Jones, and you just see the bottle of rum just.
Well, if you can't drink while you're talking about Alex Jones, I don't know, when can you drink?
I don't know. It's a great question. We'll ask him that at the camps when we see him fighting somebody for rice. I think how much do we man, it's crazy. We joke around, Andy, about I think we were always the cynical kind of guys who always acted like this was where we are at the world. But now that this is where we are, now we sound like assholes. We were talking about it earlier. Tara and I were talking about kids going back to school in Colorado. And I was like, wow, I'm surprised. I thought Jared Polis, he's the first openly gay governor, and he's pro-weed and yada, 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 as Kermit would say. But he's sending the kids back to school, and we're joking around, Andy, about and your dad about what kind of plexiglass little fucking little cubicle are children going to live in the States. They go back if they think they're doing it right, where your test gets handed to you in a little slot. It's a Woody Allen movie from 69.
It's if Franz Kafka and Woody Allen teamed up to write a screenplay, that's what that is right there.
Andy, how old are your kids? We don't need drive names, but how old are your kids? Your father.
I have an 18-year-old who's just out of school. Thank my fictitious God. And I have a 15-year-old who's going to be a sophomore within a couple of weeks.
It's a huge year. Sophomore year is what changed my life.
Yeah, it's really transitional because junior, you're pretty much who you are, I think, in high school, right? You pretty much matured. Freshman year, you're just green. And sophomore is really the quickening, I think, as they would say in Highlander. It's the quickening in sophomore year.
Yeah, I know. I think you mentioned just now that you had changed during yourself. That was my big shift into a different direction, and not a good direction.
No, not a good direction, huh? Tell me more. Is this when you were at? Is this when you were at the toy store during the apocalypse?
No, that was my freshman year of college, and it was Toys R Us in Oklahoma, which compound that nightmare even more.
Wow.
But no, I was just telling Sam, all throughout elementary and middle school, I was the do-gooder. I did extra credit for fun. I wanted to be, team leader. Do I need to stay after school? Do you need help with anything? And then all of a sudden, sophomore year, my best friend, she got her license early. A car came into the picture. I started realizing boys don't like you when you're micromanaging and all stressed out all the time about grades. Started drinking for the first time, smoked a joint for the first time my sophomore year. And it was just, I was like, I like having fun and being cool and not caring about school. So by the time senior year rolled around, I was doing, all in all, I had to do 30 to 35 hours of community service just to graduate because I was truant so often.
I have to say, before you go off on this as a father, I have to say, I've never had children, but this is truly a shameful story.
Well, considering Sam, you've always
just like that. I can't imagine being able to say this. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was just
Well,
appalled. Sorry.
So Tara, if you went wild basically in that period of time during your high school years, did it help you later on because you got that out of your system?
Yes, very much so. I was a late in life college graduate. I did go to college right out of high school and did not make it very far. I didn't even finish my first year. Moved back home, worked at Target for a little bit, and then tried to go back when I was in my early 20s, and I didn't have my head on straight enough to do that.
Yeah.
So I went back, I want to say when I was like 27.
Oh,
And
good for you.
it was I was back to that old elementary school Tara of like, I want to be leader of this study group, and I'm fascinated, and I'm taking all these notes, and I'm so glad I went back at a later age because I feel like I appreciated it more and retained more information than I would have in my early 20s. So college, that normal college, high school straight in, that's not for everybody. And
Absolutely not. I didn't
story to tell about that.
Yeah, I didn't do that either. I took some time off. I did some traveling. And then I did some work, menial jobs kind of stuff. Got held up at that gas station twice, but that's another story. And then eventually I found my way back to school. Yeah. When I was ready.
Yeah. We were talking not too long ago
Hey,
about both of
hang
us
on.
going back at this point because it's all online anyway. Might as
Yeah,
well take
hang
a couple
on.
classes.
Who's tons of mice?
Tons of mice is obviously someone in the chat who's pretty cool because they're in the chat and they're watching us.
I've seen him. Yeah, I've seen tons of
So
mice.
pretty
Yeah, tons
cool.
of mice. Yeah, we actually have.
Being the president of the chess club. Yeah.
I think they might have been talking about me.
There can be. Oh well, that was also a Highlander reference too.
There you
There
go.
can be only one.
I'm sorry. Are you sad that they're not talking about you?
No, I'm ready to take. You know what, Andy? What I just mastered was Chinese checkers. Back to what you were talking about. It was, man, yeah. I agree completely.
Thanks for that input.
So,
Yeah, what I'm actually concerned about with my youngest, who's 15, she is still studious, on track, and I'm wondering, whenever she does get to college, assuming college is still a thing, right? In-person college is still a thing in a few years, which it should be. Whether or not that's going to be the time that she just kind of goes crazy,
Mm-hmm.
and that could be detrimental because they could easily blow. She could easily blow out because a lot of people blow out in their first year, and there's no shame in that because going away from college is tough, right?
Yeah.
Away from your family for the first time for a lot of people. So that's one of my concerns that she might just lose her shit basically.
My niece is 17 and has been pretty sheltered from the normal teenage lifestyle. But she is in that mode now of like, I cannot get away from my parents fast enough. And, match that with the momentum of she's a very good student and she's going to get into some pretty good colleges.
She's also a hell of a basketball player.
Yeah. She'll
good.
be moving far, I think, from her parents when the time comes. And she's not one that parties right now. She doesn't have, she hasn't gotten in trouble for anything that a, 16, 17-year-old would get in trouble for. So I worry about her too. And I'm going to try to keep as close of a line to her as I can, being the aunt and not the mom. So I'll be watching her wherever she ends up.
You might find this hard to believe, but I'm actually a bad influence on my children many times. Be like, why don't you just try this horrible action? Yeah.
It's so funny you say that because we were laughing about my old man right before we started the show, and I'm still battling smoking and smoking cigarettes. And right before the show, I was walking inside from smoking cigarette. I was talking about doing the move my old man did up until, 5 years ago, where if you're in a public place and his favorite was the mall, you take that last drag off cigarette, throw it down, walk through not one. Then you get that like air pocket Hey, that 2001 Space Odyssey, like airlock chamber, then to the second door into
Right.
Macy's. and then the next thing you know, he walks through. He do it down outside, right? You're like, it's fine. And he walked through and it was like, ah, thank God. And he just goes, I think there's some sales going on. When we walked into the kitchenware.
The other day we saw somebody smoking inside of a 7-Eleven. We like ran in to get something really quick, and Sam walked up. He's like, I think somebody's a lit cigarette in here, and we couldn't.
I was just having a stroke, Andy. It's fine.
But I don't know if we couldn't find a culprit, but I would not. I wasn't that surprised.
You know what's surprising is that during the apocalypse, where people are just doing what they want to, they have masks on, they don't have masks on. You know, why hasn't like smoking been part of the resistance, right? If you're going to start breaking societal rules, why aren't there more people smoking, like in public places where they should?
Andy, I think it's hilarious that you asked that, because me and my spirit animal Benjamin Affleck have both, who you can't talk too much shit about because you in fact are from the neighborhood, and dude, how's those fucking quarantine tests go? Said you can follow all the rules and smoke, and people are like, well, yeah, you know, he fucking had a cigarette, he's doing all the work, he's wearing his mask. But if you really believed in inhaling toxins, why would you not be out everywhere? And I think it's what Andy was getting at. Why are there not people smoking? Like, remember the guy Ripley's Believe It or Not, Andy? That old guy. Guys smoking like 20 cigarettes together.
Oh, more than 20. There was like 100 or something in this dude's mouth. Yeah.
I'm sorry, one fucking Andy. I can't say.
So in other words, I can be a bad influence on people, I guess, giving them bad advice, telling them they should be smoking in public if that's what they're into. If they're not going to wear a mask. What's that?
Bad influence has gone to another level these days. Like bad influences. We were having a conversation about it earlier, and the world is over the course of one summer, Andy, it's become it's become Blade Runner. It's become Total Recall. It's become Minority Report, whatever you want to say. Yeah,
I'll say that Total Recall is an underrated movie. That was a really good story, and I could watch that over and over again. The Arnold Schwarzenegger version, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the original, and it's never not as fun as when you say it with that hardcore Boston accent, like, and you make me feel like I'm Ray Donovan, and you're like, no, I'll need the fucking Schwarzenegger version. But how about when you know my story? I love when he finds out about Sharon Stone, and he has to pull the trigger, and he goes, "Those are the divorce papers."
Sharon Stone, she was pretty magical with that.
Yes, there's a minute there where you're like, oh, this may not go well. But the idea of the whole dream thing is fascinating. But something, Andy, that Tara and I have been wanting to bring up on Weirdos at Home is we did a very, very sincere, very serious viewing of Minority Report.
We did.
Philip K. Dick wrote. He
right, just like
Total Recall.
Total Recall, right.
And Andy, to be honest, we were fucking mind blown. Were we not? Like a sincere viewing, like just the concepts and the.
I mean, pre-crime, that whole idea is just insane, and that brings in just a whole social and ethical issue of. Is pre-crime something that we can hold up in court, which they did, and the imprisonment was very scary. You were kind of put into a coma.
It was the Halo.
Yeah, it was like a Halo situation. But there were a lot of things that it panned out exactly the way it is now, like the touch screens, the technology. A lot of it was accurate for what we see.
If pre-crime was really a thing, and then you add racial profiling to it. It would just be on a whole different, like, horrible dystopian level. That's what it would be.
Yes.
Well, stay tuned, Andy. It's only August.
It's right. And things aren't going to get crazy really until September. That's the thing.
I got to be honest with you. Hey, if you thought it's crazy now, this is our summer reunion special episodes in America. Stay tuned till August 30th when we kick off. The whole fucking country's burning to the ground.
It's going to be crazy, and I don't want to oversell this, but it's going to be flu season, COVID-19, the stock market's going to do crazy stuff in October because people are going to be coming back from vacation going, what the hell have you people have been doing here with the stock market for the last 3 months? And it's just going to be the election and Nazis, and it's going to be nuts. That's what it is.
And zombies and murder hornets. And then Andy, there's that guy that I haven't seen for 5 fucking years who asked me, hey man, where's that money you fronted me for that acid back in 07? And I'm going to go, dude, you think you know what's going on in the world? You don't know anything, man. And it's one of those deals where you try to convince him and you go, look, hey man, hey, look, there's a pandemic going on. Let's all keep your mask on. And you end up getting so mad, you take your mask off and you start.
Oh no, I think we lost Sam and Tara there for a minute. And there's a dog, and they're muted. This is live show here. I think Sam's okay. Maybe we get to see the EMTs show up in a few moments. Oh, there, I see a head. Oh, there he is. You're still on mute, Sam. You're still on mute. You're okay. There's no head injury. Your one thumb is up. Very good. Oh, now blank screen and disconnected. Well, everyone who's watching this bizarre and it's so interesting inaugural episode really of Late Night with Andy and Sam. This is what you can get to expect in the future. We're going to make this happen on the regular. And so I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do that right here. And so it's just me. Hey, check in with us on Friday at 11 o'clock in the morning. We're going to be doing Andy and Sam on Friday mornings. Yeah, that's right. Tom Cruise is kicking Sam's ass. Future Crime now. And I'm actually talking with Dr. Kyle Johnson on Thursday at 11 a.m. On this channel. We're going to be talking about the efficacy of masks in the COVID-19 era and debunking some bad research bad science, pseudoscience about it. So that's going to be at 11 a.m. on Thursday. Everyone out there, be safe. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye now.